Jake, I have some clients that want to sell their house, but they have solar panels on the roof and they have a really big loan. I don't know what to do.
Well, we actually had this happen very recently, and it's all perspective of what people consider, this really big loan. And if you have a solar on your home and you're considering selling, there's two people you need to call. First, you need to call Katie. Second, either you or she will call me, because what I do is I then want to look at what that system is actually offsetting, what it's doing, what the potential equity that you can add, and how much it's saving you. And all these factors go together, and I'm able to determine a potential valuation that can be used when you are submitting for an appraisal to make sure that system gets added to the equity, or look at the other options that you have, because there are options that you have, but you have to address them before you even decide who you're listing with, and definitely before you list. If you're trying to figure this out too late, it can cost you, and I've seen it cost homeowners deals because there have been some changes to Fannie Mae and how they deal with solar in terms of valuation.
So grab a pen and a pad of paper, or take notes on your phone, because who has pads of paper these days? I'm Katie, the real estate gal, your Colorado Front Range realtor, and I have Jake Wilson, our solar expert, here with us as well.
So thank you very much. My name is Jake Wilson. I'm the CEO of Conscious Energy Collective, born and raised here in Denver. I went to the University of Colorado up at Boulder with a degree in architecture, and started my company about 3 years ago after a personal experience when I got solar, and how the process went, what I was charged, and what happened since then. One of which was when I was trying to sell my house, and just the process about it, because there are steps you have to take to make sure that the solar gets added to the value of your property. Now, Fannie Mae recently made a change that they will include the value of solar onto a property, but they want to make sure that there's no lien attached to it. So if there's no UCC lien, because solar does not have a lien like a mechanic's lien, it is a lien against personal property. So it shows up a little differently than a regular lien might. But when you pay solar off, either at closing or through a refinance or through multiple ways, as soon as that loan is paid off, now the equity of that system gets added, which is a really big question. How much does my system add? Well, I'll break a little bit of bad news to some people, in that it has nothing to do with how much you paid. You could have a 10 kilowatt size system that you paid $20,000 or paid $70,000. The value it adds is going to be the same regardless. The real question is, depending on the salesperson that you had, is how much of a good investment it was. Did you actually get a deal now where it's going to be less than what you paid? Unfortunately, that is not always the case, but in most cases it will be beneficial, but it is a case-by-case basis.
So this is not for leased panels, correct? This is for panels you're paying off to own in the end, correct?
Yes and no. And I say this because every lease or a power purchase agreement is a little bit different, meaning some leases allow you to buy out the rest of the panels or whatever is left in it, and in which case you would own it. Some companies do not allow that at all. So every case and every situation is unique. And that's where I say that this is why you need professionals like myself and Katie to understand, well, what's the value of your home and how much can solar add, and is it something that you want to look into, or it gives you as a buyer or a seller a place to negotiate from, where you can cover part of it or all of it. And there are even ways when doing this that a buyer can bundle the cost of solar into their new mortgage, which is one of the rare things I've kind of cracked the code and figured out how to do.
So I haven't heard of that before, and I've worked with a fair amount of lenders. Is that something special to you? Can any lender do it?
Any lender can try.
Any lender can try, okay.
I haven't come across any other lender that knows how to do it, because it's my background in solar is I had solar, and I got my mortgage license because there was no lenders that understood how solar can apply and be impacted, especially when you combine it. So I am one of I will say, the leading experts on solar and mortgages in the country. So I can say you can try with anybody else, but it probably won't work out well, because they don't know the solar component of it and how to be able to make sure to take advantage of that.
So you've seen contracts to buy and sell when someone's purchasing a home. You've seen them fall through, correct?
Very much so. And the reason why is because of the recent change, where now if a solar loan is not being paid off at closing, then it counts as not only the debt to income for the buyer, it counts as a second mortgage. So if somebody is only bringing 5% down and they have a solar loan on top of that, they're gonna have to bring extra cash just to be able to even close on the home, and they still won't own that solar outright. Versus if they come to me, there's a whole process of making sure the solar gets added, paid off, and then I know how to work with the appraiser ahead of time to, even though I don't ever meet the appraiser, I know how to position and package the solar and explain in a way where the value can get added, which means that you can now raise the potential purchase price of the home to include the solar, and then it's paid off. And by doing that, it would be much less than having it and either paying a solar loan or having a home and just paying an electric bill. By bundling it in that way, and because the solar's already been paid off, now it's the equity, you get the full added, everything's in the best position for both the seller and the buyer in this scenario. And that is something I did create and kind of figure out how to do, because like I said, nobody else really was doing it or really cared to do it because they were in the midst of the refi and the low rate boom. I was spending time figuring this out.
So if someone's under contract on a property and they realize that they're going to need to take on the solar, how long does this process take? Should they have done this before they submitted the contract, or?
Yeah. to be very straight, yes, because at that point, I mean, you're no longer negotiating from a position of strength where now there's a lot of issues. And you, as the buyer, you're always protected as the buyer to be able to back out in a lot of ways. This is really going to be more of an impact for the seller to make sure that that doesn't happen, where there have been homes where this happened and people didn't know, they didn't have enough money to be able to offset it, that they couldn't close on the home, but they didn't find out till the day before closing because the lender didn't know and couldn't find out, didn't know how to make sure this happened with the brand new change that happened with Fannie Mae back in February. There's a lot of moving pieces to this that I figured out and I've had to learn the hard way that other lenders just don't even know exist, that will come across and will cost people properties if they don't follow this process.
It's kind of like the saying, if you're good at something, never do it for free. So Jake and I are in Colorado. Jake, you said you are one of the leading solar experts in the nation. Can you do this in other states as well?
I do. We are able to do this in a lot of states. If you have any questions or if you want to know if we are able to do it, I can also always at least advise in whatever state you're in, even if I'm not able to do the solar or the loan for you. You can always go to meetingjake.com. That is my personal booking calendar. It also has our website, consciousec.com, our phone number and email on there. You can always just book a time with me to ask a specific question. I do not charge for advice, but if I'm going to do the loan on that, then yeah, there are nuances where I gotta protect some intellectual property.
That totally makes sense. So I'm Katie the Real Estate Gal, your Colorado Front Range Realtor. I am more than happy to help with your buying needs, your selling needs, or anything in between. Thank you so much for watching today, and we'll see you next week.